Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Call-In Show. It's a new show where you can get involved and you can ask the questions. But we're going to start it off by asking, the transfer window just finished. Did West Ham do enough? Is our squad too thin? Or were you happy with what we've done? Did we need more? But it's all down to you. Daniel, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Not bad. It's been a busy summer for us, a very busy summer, and the transfer window's finally come to an end. So, international break time to just be able to reflect on it. And like you said, really just look at what we've done. Obviously, we're going to really look at it in depth this week, but it'll be good to see what everyone else thinks, get some other opinions. Obviously, we touched on it a bit last night. Just gave our sort of raw feelings after the window closed. And yeah, it's been interesting to see some of the opinions I've been seeing online.
I've been looking through it today. My opinion, this is me personally, I think we let too many go and didn't get enough depth in the squad to be sustainable. I'm really worried about injuries to certain players because there's, the start to the season showed me that we have got a real lack in depth of quality of a lot of positions. I know they've obviously addressed that in buying a couple of players, but is that enough? I don't think there's enough changes, to be honest. But let's get George straight in, Dan. Let George come in. Let's see what he has to say.
Hiya, Nicky.
Hello, George. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. You?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. What do you want to talk about tonight, mate?
I mean, we can talk about the transfer window, to be honest with you, Nicky. It's been a bit of a weird one, to be honest with you. Obviously, you go back about a week or so ago, and I'm going to be honest, I was feeling pretty appalled. I mean, I'm still kind of annoyed that, we had to have starts of the season to finally be like, oh, let's actually sign some more players. Because obviously we started off with Juve, and I thought Walker Peters was going to be a good backup to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. And then obviously we got Wilson in, and then it just kind of stopped until the season started. And then the start of the season, obviously apart from the Forest game, which was brilliant, God, how badly we needed that. And then it felt like obviously Sunderland, Chelsea, Wolves, big disaster, hit panic mode, and we finally getting some good players. And overall, I have to say now, I suppose it's a positive window. Although, again, we might miss Kudos in the long term. I was pretty gutted with the fee that we got for him in the end. We didn't even sell him for his release clause, which I thought was really poor, especially as it was to Spurs as well. I think it would have been one thing if he'd gone abroad or something like that. But yeah, I think for the most part, though, when you factor in everything, probably a positive window. But I do feel like we still need a striker. I just don't think you can rely on Callum Wilson and Fulkrug. I feel like I don't think you can rely on them for the whole season. So I would have liked to have seen us bring in another forward as well. But Fernandez looks good. I suppose Somerville coming back will feel like a new signing as well. Obviously, we got the Brazilian defender in yesterday after Aguerd's left, and we kept Akatar, which I think was huge as well. Was really happy to see his celebration at the weekend. So, yeah, overall, I'd say probably positive, but it just, why do we have to leave it to the end of the window every bloody year, it feels like? But yeah,
there was a lot of movement yesterday. It was probably one of the biggest transfer deadline days I've seen for a long time. It was like everyone was waiting for the last day to give it the drama. But what do you feel about the players we let go? Is there players we let go who you rather keep? Did we not move anyone on? Should we have been trying a bit harder for different positions? Because this is just my opinion, George. Obviously we brought Fernandez in and we see he made the difference against Nottingham Forest. But I think that, obviously we've got Magassa in as well that we haven't seen yet. But in terms of the quality of the squad, I mean, one or two injuries there, mate, and we're back to what we started with. And that was shown that wasn't good enough.
I completely agree with you, Nick, to be honest with you. I do think the strength in depth isn't there. It's funny, at the beginning of the window, I was kind of glad we were getting Aguerd back because I feel like all of last season, I was saying, why have we let him go out on loan? I know he didn't really want to be there, but then obviously Lopetegui come in, and then after that Potter come in. I'm thinking, why haven't either of those managers tried to get him back in into the fold? But then obviously this season has been a bit of a disaster, which I think is a bit of a shame because prior to that, I would have said he was a decent player for us. He had been a decent player for us. Obviously, won the Conference League and everything like that. So I felt like he kind of needed to go. Emerson's obviously gone as well, which is one of them where I kind of feel like if Juve gets injured, I feel like his Scar was then ready to step up to the plate. He did look really good at points last season, but again, it would have been maybe nice to have just had that little bit of extra depth there. I completely agree with you, what you're saying in terms of the injuries, if we do get any. We saw how important that Fernandez looked, and he was brilliant against Forest. But yeah, if he gets injured, if Paquetá gets injured, you don't then want. I would have liked us to have got Rodriguez off the books completely. He was absolutely pony last season, and you don't want to see him and Ward-Prowse starting in the midfield again. So yeah, I'd have liked to have seen him gone. But yeah, otherwise though, I feel like we needed to sort of keep the players that we've sort of kept. Again, Irving could have gone as well, but I'd rather have him than not have him, especially if we do get an injury at this point. But yeah, it's been a bit of a funny window, all things considered. And it just kind of goes to illustrate the sort of lack of a plan, which is what we've all been sort of hammering on about for bloody like decade, like 15 years at this point.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about the last few transfer windows with Tim Stuyvesant, things got done very quickly. I think you see last summer, and probably the summer before that, targets were identified and Tim went straight out. He didn't muck around. He went out there and got the deals done. And it does seem that this one is a little bit laboured and a little bit, we're meant to have a guy that's meant to be helping Potter with identifying things. Like, obviously, there's rumours that Sullivan's taken control of a lot of the transfers, and a lot of these people are being touted as too expensive for him, and they're a little bit cutting, pulling pulling the rug from underneath what Graham Potter can do. But in terms of like Aguirre, Alvarez, Emerson, these are three players that are meant to have like caused a little bit of uproar and a little bit of disciplinary problem. But when you look at the types of like Guido Rodriguez that was barely played, we've got to be thinking like when you're loaning out Alvarez, surely he's better to try and keep in the squad than Guido Rodriguez, because you've just seen that Guido Rodriguez is just not up to it.
No, he isn't. I don't think he's a Premier League caliber player at all. Edson Alvarez, yeah, I completely agree. I'd actually forgot about him, to be honest with you, until you just mentioned him just now. Obviously,
like 12 players go. I mean, Aguirre was pretty quick. I know we got a lone player into, but Aguirre was given a number 4, and then apparently it came out, right? And I don't know these facts, but apparently it came out that he was like talking people down from signing for the club. Like, yeah, that's what I heard.
That's the first I've heard of that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean,
he was talking to potential targets and basically telling them not to go there.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. If he's done that, then, like a snake, then I suppose. And if he doesn't want to be there, ultimately get rid of him as well. But yeah, Emerson, I think we could have kept. Alvarez, obviously, just had a great Gold Cup with Mexico. I've always liked Alvarez. I thought in his first season, I thought he was fantastic. I thought in his first season, I think he was like my runner-up for Hammer of the Year, I think behind Bowen. And obviously last season, it wasn't quite as good, but you could aim that across the whole team other than Bowen and Wan-Bissaka last season.
Yeah.
And I think even though he's always got a card in him, like he could always pick up a yellow card. He's still great at breaking up the play. I suppose in terms of the team we've got, he's probably like one of our leaders as well. When you think obviously Mexican captain and everything like that. And when you think that we've still got Rodriguez, someone like that stuck on the books, and even again to maybe a lesser extent, an Andy Irving and stuff like that, you kind of feel like, well, why have we let Alvarez go out? I feel like last season I was like, why have we let Aguirre go out on loan? And this season it's like, why have we let Alvarez go out on loan? When you need his legs in midfield could be so important, especially when you look around. And obviously we've signed Fernandez, but we haven't got a huge amount of mobility in that midfield at all. I think that's the biggest worry. We haven't really got the legs there. Obviously, I feel like Souček's 30, 31 now, and he's got his strengths, and we love Souček to bits. Obviously, great servant for the club at this point. But yeah, I completely agree. We're a couple of injuries away from it potentially reverting back to the first 2 games of the season. And one great win over Forest. I hope it doesn't sort of paper over the cracks of everything. I kind of hope that we can take this formation that we use and try and build on that going forward. But yeah, I think for me, I am kind of worried because I feel like now the window's shut. It'd be so typical if Wilson and Fulkrug go and pick up an injury. I feel like we can't have, because then we'll just go back to playing Bowen up front again.
That is a place where I think we've left ourselves desperately short, because although we've got Somerville coming back, it didn't look like he really wanted to play winger, so it looked like Bowen was going to play more advanced. But now you've got that the fact that he's had to change it because that just wasn't working. If Bowen has to go up front because them two are, and let's be honest, they're likely to break down at some point in the season. What do we do on the right?
Yeah.
We've got enough attacking prowess to come in.
No, that's it. I don't think we do, because I suppose if Fulkrug and Wilson are unavailable, you'd probably have to put someone like Somerville or out there, and then maybe shift Paqueta or someone like that out on the left-hand side instead. It's all a bit messy, and again, it's all a bit like, I know Kudus probably wanted out pretty much all of last season. For me, after he got sent off against Spurs, when he came back, he didn't look the same apart from the Arsenal game. Yeah, he looked like he was done from then. But that strength in depth, yeah, the squad's really thin at the moment, and we are only a few injuries away. It just sort of feels to me like, and I don't want to bang on about the ownership too much, because obviously I watch you guys a lot, and you see all the stuff on Twitter and everything like that. Everyone knows the ownership is what the issue is, and it has been for the last sort of like 15 years. But it's just like, why can't we just have a structure? Why can't we just have a plan? Why can't, like, if I was Sullivan and owned the club, I would be like, well, I don't know how to run a football club. Yeah. I'm going to employ someone that knows how to run that football club so that I can get the best return on my investment. All he should really be doing is signing checks. And he's got a right to kind of be like, oh, do I want to spend this amount of money? Or, it's his money at the end of the day. But in terms of the day-to-day operations of the football club, the owner should have nothing to do with it. And that's the same. That's not just for David Sullivan. I would say that's the same for Todd Bowley at Chelsea, Ratcliffe at United.
Yeah,
you employ football people to make the footballing decisions, and you get the checkbook out, and you've got a right to go, I don't want to pay this amount of money for this player. If you don't want to, that's fine. But if you're being advised by the people you've employed to do that, but again, we've never had that. You see people like Allardyce do interviews with Talk Sport and go, oh, he'd turn up at training, there'd be a player there, he didn't even know what the fuck he was doing there. Yeah. and you just think, how can that be a thing? And you talk about shambles of a football club sometimes and how it's run. I think back to even like 10 years ago, before the Fabrizio Romanos of the world, we had bloody Jack Sullivan. That was our in of was calling his dad. Going, who are we signing, Dad? And then David Sullivan would tell him, and then he'd tell everyone on Twitter. He'd be like, oh, hang on, I just need to finish science class, and then I'll give my dad a call. And I'm just like, that was only 10 years ago we were doing that. Yeah. And you think, this is a Premier League football club. Like, could you imagine any other club doing that? Like, genuinely, could you imagine any other football club doing that?
I've always thought there was the people that run this club are not professional people. I don't think they know how to be professional in terms of the way they conduct their business and the way they do. I think he's always looking for the next bargain, the next what's it called? The next breakout star, and he wants to get someone so cheap that he turns into a superstar and it runs the club. But obviously he has got no clue about modern football. Listen, he's an old man now.
Yeah,
and he grew up owning football clubs in the 90s, where it was like very, very simple way to do business. It was the wheeler dealers game, and now it's international businessmen and very wealthy and money orientated people that are trying to to run businesses and run corporations rather than try and keep a football club afloat. And I think he's just lost in the way he has to conduct his business. I think he's just absolutely been left behind. And if he keeps on taking these chances and taking these risks and reverting back to trying to do what he thinks best, which I'm sure he does think it's best, but we all know he's just out of his depth now. He's going to end up absolutely ruining the football club, and he's going to end up making it an absolute, an impossible business to get back up to where it's meant to be, and it's going to end up, collapsing it. Collapsing everything because of the risks he's taking and the unwillingness to invest anything into, keeping it afloat and keeping up with, what is expected to be spent, to keep your club in the top flight. I think it's absolutely atrocious what he's doing. He's totally out of his depth, and the way he's sort of like exploited his position for years and years and years, and sort of lied his way to the top and lied his way through these last 10 years. I think enough's enough now, and he has to, for the sake of the football club, if he's got anything left about him, he will sell up that football club and let someone at least willing to invest something or willing to put up something in place to make the club sustainable. And he'll do it today, but the longer he claws onto it, the more I just think he's just in it for the money, and he's waiting for, to add to his multi-billion-pound fortune, which is, it's a very, very risky business, to be honest.
No, I completely agree because, to be honest, it's kind of, the club is sort of run, I want to say like a sort of fruit and veg stall, but I feel like actually there's probably people that run a fruit and veg stall a lot more professionally than how we run our football club. And the issue is as well, is if we were to go down, and we could go down. I don't think we will, but we could. But if we were to go down, the issue is over the last couple of years, the gap between the Championship and the Premier League has grown like astronomically. If really, if the relegation, let's say us, United, Spurs, Everton, because we were all down there last season. If we were in that position 4 or 5 years earlier, any one of us, if not multiple of the clubs, could have gone. But we were lucky in the sense of that the Championship teams were just that far below the Premier League, that as poor as we were, that we could finish 14th, 15th, wherever we finished in the end, and that Spurs could finish 17th, United could finish 16th. As like poor as we were, we knew from pretty much all of last season we weren't going to get relegated. For most of last season, we knew, especially come sort of like Christmas, January, we knew that the promoted teams were pretty much done and dusted. And the year before that, there was only a relegation battle because Everton got docked points, didn't they? I think, and so if we were to go down, you then kind of sit there and think, even if we could get straight back up again. Obviously, we'd lose our best players, almost all of them. I feel like the only one we'd maybe have any kind of hope of keeping would be Bowen, and that's only because of the length of the contract that he's on, and he maybe doesn't have a clause in there that says that he could leave for a cut price if we were to get relegated. And there's no
be sold. He would 100% be sold.
I think even with what would the because I suppose we got relegated, it would still be because what's he got 6 years on his deal? I think something like that, hasn't he?
He would 100% be sold. I don't think it'd be.
I suppose the fee. We would get a ridiculous fee for him still, even if it was in the Championship. We would
pretty sizable fee,
But we'd lose pretty much all of our best players, and then even if we were to get promoted again, there'd be a good chance then that season we just get relegated again. And I just don't really feel like you can take that sort of risk. It's not like when we went down in 2010 and 2011, where even up until
harder to rebuild now because of financial restriction, because
100%.
Yeah, go on.
Because there used to be a sort of sentiment, not just aimed at us, but even at other clubs that have historically went down, where a season in the Championship are actually doing quite good because it gives them a chance to rebuild. They can get out some of the dross, and then they can come back with a bit of confidence, maybe a new manager, a new core of players, and then they can kind of go again from there. We've seen teams do that over the years, sort of like Fulham's and sides like that. That have got, and even Bournemouth, teams like that have gone down and then they've come up and they've been stronger than they were the last time they were in the Premier League. But with the way that the football's going, you've got to sit there and feel like, well, if we were to drop, even if we were to come straight back up again, the likelihood of us being able to have another, like, we got promoted in 2012, the likelihood of us having another 13 years in the Premier League again, back to back, it's so much harder now than it was in 2012 when we came up. The footballing landscape is different.
No, I totally understand that. Yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to build, and it's not as much as a guarantee that we stay up. But George, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I really appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been watching you guys since the last season at Upton Park. I go to the games with my dad, and we normally sort of like shoot off after the game, so I never get a chance to hang around and talk on the fan cams and that. But yeah, I saw you guys doing the show tonight, and was like, yeah, I'll drop in and have a discussion. Thanks for having me, mate. Like, yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. Yeah, brilliant call. Thank you very much, Daniel. Sorry, mate. Have we got anyone else lined up? If not, well, we're going to have a chat. Wrap it up early tonight because I need
we had quite a few people lined up, but a lot of them have dropped out. Yeah, so we potentially
that was an interesting call. I mean, the pessimism has just been sort of like, even though we won on Sunday, the pessimism that going around this club at the minute is like, it's like a bit of an anchor to us at the minute. It's not letting us get any positivity going.
Yeah, do you know what? I think there's just a tiredness and just a sense of inevitability in this fan base that no matter what happens, nothing's really gonna change. I put the overlap clip I did out earlier, and I was basically said on there, the win's great, but it doesn't change the wider problem. We can be brilliant this season, we can have a great season, and maybe we can have a great season next season, but we know it's not going to last. It's not going to be sustainable because of how the football club is run. And I think that it's gotten to that point now where the fan base are fed up. And it's separating the two, right? I think we still got to enjoy the wins in isolation, right? I was buzzing after the Forest game, absolutely buzzing. But not for a second did I think, right, we're there now. We're right. Now we're kicking. Even if we beat Spurs, it's the same thing.
I was a lot more positive after the game. Obviously, like, watching your team going forward like that and attacking like that is good. And obviously, like, the only issue I saw with that is that Forest was so certain that we was going to play a certain way. They just set up for that, and we just caught them on a break. There's going to be 2 weeks now between this where Tottenham are going to be looking at, well, this is what happens if we do this. This is what, and that's when we'll see a real gauge of what we've got for the season. Paquetá was magnificent on a day. Somerville came on and changed the game, and Fernandes had a good debut. But as I said, an injury or two to them, and I'm looking at the bench, and I don't know where we turned them. I don't know where we turn. We have let a lot of players go, and there's a lot of players that are sort of like towards the end of their shelf life. That you just turn around and think like, well, why haven't we at least tried to replace them or get some kids in, or at least get some some youngsters some game time, because it is not sustainable.
No, that's it. And do you know, it's an interesting point as well you make on the on Forest expecting us to play a certain way. Scholes was saying on the show yesterday, and it was about Amorim, funny enough, but about how Amorim plays the same way every game.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning back in the day when he probably played under Fergie, they would be waiting for the opposition's team sheet to come in to see and try to work out how they're playing, what they're going to do, and to try and stop them. Whereas now, if you know a team like with Man United, you know how they're going to play every week. With West Ham, for the past few years, you've pretty much known how we're going to play every week. So you have plenty of time to play. We're so predictable, we have been in the past. Whereas
it looked like Wolves had just set up for one way. They thought they knew exactly how we was going to play, and I think Forest. Yeah, I think we just caught them off guard, and they just didn't have another game plan. But that won't be the case for all of it. It's just, I just don't feel like we've got enough to change it up when we need to change it up. Like the players, I mean, when we let go of Guerre yesterday, Cornet, obviously Cornet hasn't got a look in. I don't know when Guilherme is going to be back, but he's out for a little while. Then we've let go the likes of Cresswell, Alvarez on loan. I mean, a lot of it just doesn't make sense to me, Dan. Why we've kept some and let others go.
Yeah, I don't know if
Too
this
foul.
is Sufal. I don't know if there's personal issues, and it just seems weird. I can't believe that he's just falling out with all of these players. It's a bit strange to me, but
Yeah.
you're right. Like when we look at it,
Oh,
we are a bit thin.
sorry, let me put this comment up then because I think this is quite. I think this is quite 3-0 papered over the cracks. Do you reckon that 3-0 win could have at least stopped the panic on deadline day? Because if we'd have lost 3-0, maybe there would have been a bit more urgency, thinking like, what can we do and what can we get him?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? Is it did it stop us panic buying and signing crap, or did it stop us maybe going and getting that Charlie Creswell over the line and spending that extra bit of money?
Mm.
That's the problem, isn't it? And this is the thing for me. I'm not going to be convinced on one game from Potter. I need to see this week in and week out, or a consistent basis. We're going to have off days. Of course, we're going to have off days, but I just want to see some consistencies. And, when it comes to how we set up and how we play, I want to see that a bit more. That's why I think we should have got a little bit more pace in the side. We got Magassa, we got Fernandez, we've got Somerville there. Guilherme, if he plays. I just wanted to see a few more options because you see, like Forest, when we got them Somerville on, they could not handle his pace.
Yeah, they didn't know. Yeah, they didn't know what to do.
And we have missed that. Like he was shredding their defenders, and we've missed that for so long. And I want to see more of that in the side, like when it comes to options. Because if Somerville, touch wood, if he does get injured again, and Guilherme obviously broke his collarbone, then what do we do? And then it's the same with, like, you look at Magassa, you look at Fernandez, and if it happens to them, we go back to that slow midfield. I wanted one more midfielder in. I really did. It sort of shifted priority, and I know everyone was talking about the defense and the striker, but I still wanted to see that box-to-box midfielder come in, and we didn't get that, and we've still got Rodriguez on the books.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But seeing as we've got no callers now, I'm going to wrap it up early tonight, I think.
Have a cheeky early night. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. So we had quite a few, and everyone's like,
Just dropped out,
not going to be home in time. Got to do this, got to do that. It's one of them things, like, really. But hopefully next week we'll have a lot more callers. But we've got a lot of bits and pieces coming in up.
Yeah, start asking us. We're going to open up the way you can contact us, so we get the link out to more people. And I know it's like restricted to Twitter and things at the minute. There's Facebook now, but we'll start promoting how to get hold of us because we want more callers.
Yeah, 100%. We need a variety of voices, and like George was just saying there, not everyone can come see us after a game.
No,
so this is your chance. If you can't, if you're abroad, an international fan, and you've always wanted to come on and have a say, that's what this show is here for. So don't be shy. Give it a try. And we're all hammers suffering together.
We're not going to bite. We're not going to bite. But yeah, we've got plenty of content. Sorry, mate.
No, I was just saying that's it, mate. You're right.
Yeah, we've got plenty of content coming up during the week. We're going to be filming something tomorrow, so look out for all that. And then next week we start building up towards Tottenham Hotspur at home. That's a big game. But yeah, if you're new around here, subscribe, like the video because it gives us a push in the algorithm. Become a member if you want. There's some good stuff going up there in the next couple of days. And follow us on all the socials. But thank you for joining in. One thing left for us to say: come on, you irons.
Come on, you irons.